So you're listening to us on the Crusade channel, always on air and always online at crusadechannel.com, the last live radio station standing. Our call-in telephone number is 844-527-8723. And our live chat room, the only social media out there worth actually socializing in, is online at crusadechannel.com/chat. So we were talking, there was a little technical glitch, but we were talking about the social compendium of the Catholic Church, and we were applying that to what Mr. Donahue from the Chamber of Commerce had to say. Here it is in a nutshell, and then we're going to move on to Kamala Harris. Why, I don't know, but she's in the news, and we're just going to have to cover her. But in a nutshell, what Joe and I want to emphasize, and this is what the social compendium of the Catholic Church emphasizes, and this is what we need to emphasize in America as far as our free enterprise system. No economic system is worth keeping unless everybody's benefiting from it. I, Joe, you, all the good people out there, you do not exist to serve either the state or the economy. Both the state and the economy exist to serve us. We want people to make money. You come up with an idea, you capitalize on it, you make a profit. God bless you. And I mean that. Joe means that too. God bless you. You can't make your product, you can't provide your service without paying your workers a fair and just wage, a wage that enables them to raise their families. That's what American capitalism ought to be about. That's the way it was in the middle of the 20th century when you had strong labor in this country. And unfortunately, we seem to have drifted away from that. We need to get back to it. And I think you would agree. Donald Trump, by reshoring production to the United States, is doing just that. So we want to make that clear. You're not going to find a couple of socialists over here, I'm telling you right now. But our capitalist system, if it's not serving us, we need to tweak those things. We need to change those things. So having said that, like I said, we have to go to Kamala Harris.
Interesting. This is, I think we're in trouble if this one goes through, Joe P. Kamala Harris is pressing for a resolution condemning all forms of anti-Asian sentiment. And what, obviously, we're not anti-Asian, but this is what is also related to this particular
Joe,
resolution.
I hear the jackboots coming up the street right now. She
wants to ban the use of the terms Wuhan virus, Chinese virus, or the Kung flu. Now,
Joe and I are already guilty because it's on record that we've called it all three, and Joe makes a point of doing this.
I even give a little Chinese hand. Can you say that? Probably not.
Probably not, according to Kamala Harris. So, but here's the thing. I would almost respect it if she also, in her bill, don't know if she has or she hasn't, if she also says that we're also need to retroactively change the names of all the viruses we've known in the past. So you have to change the name of the West Nile virus,
Spanish flu,
German measles, all of it, Ebola. You have to change all of it, not just this one. If you do that, Senator Harris, okay, how you ever got to be a senator, I don't know. Then I'll say you're being fair. But to single this one out, the answer is absolutely not. This is the Chinese virus.
Because it comes from China.
Now, if you send your jackboots to our home or to our little studio to arrest Joe or I, okay, we promise you that we will sacrifice everything to take this case to the Supreme Court, okay? We'll win, and we will sue the balls off you.
Little jail time does you good.
Right. little jail time, little solitary confinement.
Do you good.
You know?
You pray a few rosaries.
So anyway, so you, listen, your faux outrage, that Donald Trump calls it the Wuhan virus, and all you racist people who vote for him, you're nothing but a bunch of racists. Like I said, you better apologize to the Germans and the Africans and the Spanish, all right, and change the name of all those viruses.
Obviously, this is a political angle,
basically.
But the thing is, she doesn't want, they feel that Trump calling it a Chinese virus is diverting the blame to China. So obviously,
diverting it from where?
But
it started in China.
Well, that's the obvious, and that's why Donald Trump said it's from China because that's where it started. However, they want to blame Donald Trump for this.
Yeah.
So that there is politics behind that resolution,
sure,
without a question. As far as what she's trying to come across as she's some like champion of the Asian community. That's a farce.
Right.
That's an utter and absolute farce.
Right. But they have to peddle their racist narrative. It's only going to ramp up. So all you people go, gird your loins, as St. Paul said, get ready, because that's all, because the racist slurs that are going to be cut, or the claims that you're a racist is just going to get louder and louder and louder. You're going to be called stupid, of course, because we're all stupid because we voted for Trump. You're only smart if you vote for people like Kamala Harris, by the way, but you're not smart if you vote for people like Donald Trump. So it's all going to just ramp up from here. Coronavirus is starting to die down. That's going to be a thing of the past. I said to Joe before we started the show, Donald Trump said, I know it's hopeful on his part, that we could have a vaccine inside of 90 days. And he has AstraZeneca working on it, an American company working on it in the United States. Throw them a few $1 billion, lock a few smart people in a room, tell them that they're on, talk about being in solitary confinement. You're on lockdown until you have a vaccine. You'll be rich when you come out of lockdown, but get us a vaccine and get it to us now. If that happens and before November, Donald Trump announces that we have a vaccine, I already wouldn't want to be Joe Biden running against him. I really wouldn't want to be Donald Trump may win New Jersey. That's how much of a landslide it might be if Donald Trump finds a vaccine before the election. Okay.
Could you then call it the Kung flu?
Then you could call it whatever you want, because now there's a vaccine.
And then it disappears from the narrative, and then on to the next ridiculous conspiracy.
You know what would happen if Donald Trump did that? Because the talk is that if they get the vaccine, they want to manufacture 1 billion doses of the vaccine. You know what he would do in a brilliant move? Absolutely brilliant. First things first, get Americans taken care of, okay? Which is what? If everybody in America got the vaccine, that's 330 million. That leaves you another 660 million after that. Export a few to China and say, here's a product of American ingenuity. Give it to your people. How great would that be? And then say, get Kamala Harris on the phone and tell her, screw you.
Well, there it is.
So you're at the front line with Joe and Joe Pasillo, Joe Rossinello. We're going to be coming up on a break in a couple minutes, but we're going to start our next conversation. See, we go from Kamala Harris. Now we started in the last segment with Joe Biden. We go to Kamala Harris. Now we have to go to the half-wit Hunter Biden.
Well, sadly, and like Joe said, in another minute, we got to go to the break. I'll just give you a little taste. The Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee voted to approve a subpoena of Blue Star Strategies. It's a lobbying firm that was a consultant to Burisma. That's the gas company in the Ukraine that paid Joe Biden's son, Hunter, a ridiculous amount of money.
Ridiculous is right.
Clearly, he had no qualifications for that position, and now they're actually subpoenaing.
I've heard it called subpoena or subpoena. Rod Steiger and I on the waterfront called it subpoena. I heard you got a subpoena.
Well, you could have a panini and eat it, but you can't serve a subpoena.
Right.
But anyway, this is what the senator from Florida, Rick Scott, had to say. He said, we need to get to the truth about the Biden's relationship with Burisma. And that's just the truth. I mean, listen, if they did something wrong, and I think it's as clear as day that they did, the American people need to know about it.
Right.
It has nothing to do with politics. I'm sorry, Mr. Joe Biden and Hunter Biden. Sorry about that.
Right. It's got nothing to do with politics. Conspiracy, you say, what do you call it? Conspiracy theories, right? All you good people, Mike Church has actually pointed this out too, and everybody who's listening to this, is go watch a documentary on YouTube called Out of Shadows. Okay. Now, I point to them because it's gone viral. Okay. It's like 15 million views. But I would recommend watching that. Also, those of you who know E. Michael Jones has been saying the same thing too. The phrase conspiracy theory was a CIA invention, so that when normal commonsensical people can connect dots that don't take a lot of common sense to connect and say, hey, you guys are doing something wrong, they say, you're a conspiracy theorist. The CIA invented that, by the way. Okay. We'll get into it more in the next segment. We're going to go to a break right now. You're listening to The Front Line with Joe and Joe. Joe Pasillo, Joe Rossinello. We're way into the breach on the Crusade channel, always on air and always online. at crusadechannel.com, the last live radio station standing. Our call-in telephone number, 844-527-8723. And our live chat room, the only social media out there worth actually socializing in, is online at crusadechannel.com/chat. And yeah, follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Frontline with Joe and Joe. Follow, like, subscribe, share, do all that fun stuff. And we are going to continue the conversation briefly with Hunter Biden and go on to some more fun stuff after that. We'll see you on the other side of the break. Welcome back, everyone, to the front line with Joe and Joe. Joe Pasillo, Joe Resinello. We're way into the breach on the Crusade Channel, always on air and always online at crusadechannel.com, the last live radio station standing. Our call-in telephone number is 844-527-8723, and our live chat room, the only social media out there worth actually socializing in, is online at crusadechannel.com/chat. So, yeah, we were talking about Hunter Biden. Fact is this, Rick Scott is exactly right. There is a problem here. Sorry, Chuck Schumer. It's not a conspiracy theory. Hunter Biden, doesn't matter if he was on the board of Amtrak, okay? That is obviously something that's ridiculous as a qualification to be sitting on the board of Burisma. It was a scam. It was a scam to enrich the Bidens. And, yeah, you're going to subpoena Hunter Biden, and you're going to get some answers. And you want to know what galls Chuck Schumer? That's why if you hear the comments on a lot of this show, it's, why aren't we worried about the coronavirus? Why are we subpoenaing Hunter Biden? Well, because there's a crime that has been committed.
But they don't care about that. And this is the gem that he threw out when this happened. It made me laugh. And you talk about projection. This is a great example of projection. He said, it appears the subpoena is just for show, a way to create the false impression of wrongdoing. This is what he said from the Senate floor. It's like a third world dictatorship, a show trial with no basis in fact, with no due process, with no reality. Joe, that's what they live and die by. That's what the Russian hoax was. That's what this ridiculous, what's it called? When they tried to impeach Trump.
Right, Ukraine.
It was ridiculous.
Right, but projection.
It's utter and absolute projection.
So they accuse you what it is you're doing yourself. Okay, this is not conspiracy theory, okay? This is something that needs to be investigated. There will be due process because unlike you radicals in the Democratic Party, Hunter Biden and Joe Biden will get due process. What bothers Chuck Schumer is that he doesn't hold the gavel in the Senate. Mitch McConnell does. See, Chuck Schumer has a love-hate relationship with Nancy Pelosi. He loves her. They're comrades, okay? But he hates her and he's jealous of her because she has the gavel in the House. He does not in the Senate. Mitch McConnell is going to subpoena Hunter Biden no matter what CNN says, no matter what MSNBC says, no matter what PBS says, no matter what the New York Times says, and no matter what the Democrats in the Senate have to say. Hunter Biden will be subpoenaed. And I don't want to have to tell you, Mr. Biden, Hunter, that is, okay, what the consequences of evading a subpoena are. You will show up and you will be asked questions. And you and all of your shenanigans and your corruption is going to come to light. And sorry, pal.
Now, how much did they pay this guy a month? Like
80 grand, 100 grand.
All you need to know is this. 1, how much he made. And 2, how were you qualified to make that?
Right.
And 3, was there a fair process with regard to you being hired? Break those 3. That's the 3 questions that need to be asked. 1, this is what you made, so everyone knows. 2, how were you qualified based upon your resume to get that job? And 3, how was that selection process implemented? All of which point to trouble for the Bidens.
The Bidens,
And you,
not just him,
and you
for
don't
Papa Biden too.
And you don't have to be a scholar. You don't have to be a lawyer. You could just be a simple American person who knows how to read, who listens to the news and hears this. And frankly, you will draw the correct conclusion. The Bidens are as corrupt as the day is long. They enrich their family based upon position, that it is a crime, and this should be brought to light, and the truth should be made known to the American people.
That's right. You accuse Trump of something that he never did. And in this case, there's so much smoke and there's so much fire and there's so much evidence that you're going to be the one that's you're going to suffer for actually having done something wrong. And it'll be just because of the way you made President Trump suffer for something that he never did. That's the bottom line. So anyway, you're at the front line with Joe and Joe Pasillo, Joe Rossinello. Where are we going next?
We're going to talk a little hashtag Me Too movement.
Me too.
Which is always, like, to be honest with you, an interesting conversation, particularly what's going on with the Tara Reid situation.
Alyssa Milano, me too.
Oh, please, that
me
lunatic.
too. Gwyneth Paltrow, me too. She said, my Lord and Savior, Harvey Weinstein, which she got an Academy. She was going like this, Joe. She was mad in her chest. She couldn't breathe. She was like, Harvey Weinstein, I want to thank you so much. Now she's part of the Me Too. Her, Meryl Streep, and the rest of them. Give me a break.
But I think that a lead into this conversation is more of a statement that we're going to make, Joe and I. And basically, like, the only heroes to this hashtag Me Too movement, if you really want to break it down, it's Tara Reid and Rose McGowan.
Yeah.
And that was with regard to, who was that again? That was Harvey Weinstein.
I think it was Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah. Basically, and who are the frauds? We know the heroes. Who are the frauds? Nancy Pelosi, Kristen Gillibrand, Dianne Feinstein, Kamala Harris, Fräulein, Gretchen Wiedemeyer, and Stacey Abrams. Why are they frauds? Because they're either smearing Tara Reid or basically trying to, like, hide Joe Biden. And who's helping them? The mainstream media.
Right.
Also fraud.
That objective mainstream media who raises their fists in indignation against anyone who would dare to say that they are the enemy of the American people. That's what they are.
So what about the hashtag Me Too women who came forward and brought down all the terrible men in left-wing Hollywood and in the left-wing media? What about the women who brought down Weinstein? What about the women who brought down Matt Lauer, Charlie Rose, Bill Cosby? Aren't they heroes? I have one question. Where are they now, Joe Pasillo?
Well, John Nolte, who he wrote this article, I think it was in the Federalist. John Nolte, he actually turned into the front line with Joe and Joe, because in the article itself, he says, well, I have a better question. Where the F are they now? And he didn't say F. He spelled it out. Okay. I actually was reading and I went, a writer is pissed when you're reading their words. John Nolte was kind of like I said, he morphed into the front line with Joe and Joe, because that would be our reaction. Where the F are you now? Nowhere to be found.
Because the hypocrisy is just so
blinding.
Thick. It is like, and this is where the American people, they take you for fools. Don't you think that people see through this, guys? I mean, it's unbelievably, this is where, like I said, the truth always comes out. God has a way of bringing the truth to light.
Mm-hmm.
This is, you juxtapose. We've talked about this time and time again, how they treated Brett Kavanaugh. And now you have this situation. And frankly, it's more of a violent crime. This is a violent assault.
Right.
This woman is accusing Joe Biden of.
Throw her up against the wall and violate her.
Nobody cares.
Right.
Nobody cares. We even covered a story in an op-ed in the New York Times where someone says, of course he did it, and I'm still going to vote for him anyway.
Right.
I never want to hear this position seriously brought up by a Democrat again.
Right.
It is a joke. And here's another thing. You are not pro-woman.
No.
Because if you were, you would take Biden to the mat. And you're not.
You're not.
So I don't want to hear it.
And why? Why is it that you won't take him to the mat? Because he's in favor of baby killing. That's the only reason why you're backing him up. That's the only reason you tried to destroy Brett Kavanaugh and his family. Because Brett Kavanaugh is against baby killing. And Biden's all okay with baby killing. And so are you baby killers. That's why. But like Joe said, we're not all stupid. Jim Acosta and Brian Stelter and Rachel Maddow and Chris Matthews and Lawrence McDonald and all of them could scream it to the rooftops, from the rooftop, that we're all stupid. You know in your heart of hearts that we are not. You know it in your heart that we're not. You know it in your heart that you're a freaking hypocrite. That's what you are, because you took Christy Blasey Ford's side against Kavanaugh, and you're hanging Tara Reade out to dry. John Nolte was right. Where the F are you now? Nowhere to be found. Hanging Tara Reade out to dry. That's where you are to be found. You should be ashamed of yourself, all of you. If you think there's not a hell, you're going to find out the hard way that there is, because you lie about people. You detract from people. You slander people, all in the name of baby killing. Let's remember, that's what you're all about. Baby killing. That's why you won't take Joe Biden down. If you were consistent, you would, but you won't, because you're not consistent and you're not honest.
Well, speaking of baby killing, we're going to talk about a situation that happened in New Jersey. This is recently. A New Jersey woman chokes on her own vomit after abortion complications. Abortions are considered essential in New Jersey as the coronavirus pandemic continues here in this state. A woman choked on her own vomit during a surgical abortion at the Cherry Hill Women's Cherry Hill. It should be Cherry Hill. Cherry Hill Women's Center. Cherry Hill, just for those people who aren't from New Jersey, that's southern New Jersey. It's very close to Philadelphia. And she required an emergency transplant to the Cooper Medical Center. So this woman choked in her own vomit. Now, many Democrats, they'll scream it from the rooftops constantly. You hear the argument constantly, that we are pro-women. We are pro-women. Does this sound like it's a pro-women movement? I don't think so.
They left her in the waiting room. They took her out to what would you call it? Post-op. It's not an operation. It's a murder. Where they sit after the abortion, and they kind of just left her there. And then this woman's having problems. And again, I brought this up before because I found out firsthand from my time going down to which has been suspended now because of coronavirus. The first Saturday procession down in front of Planned Parenthood in New York. Ambulances and Planned Parenthood, they're all in cahoots. They have their own 911 number. They don't call regular 911. If I'm having a problem, if you're having a problem, something happens at home, you call 911. I have an emergency. Ambulance is coming, sirens blaring. Not so with Planned Parenthood. The lights might be on, no sirens. They cover the woman's face coming out of the abortion clinic. In other words, they get them in the back and then they silently drive away. They don't want people to know that women choke on their own vomit at Planned Parenthood or any of their affiliates. They want to make it seem like this is as easy as ordering a pizza. There's no reason for health and safety standards, because this is no different than having your tonsils removed. In fact, tonsils might be more of a surgery. Oh, it's like this is part of their whole narrative. They don't even want this in the news. They certainly don't want a couple of jamokes like us talking about it, but they don't want this in the news.
Well, that's why it's not in the mainstream news. You'll never find these stories in the mainstream news. You have to dig for them, and that's what Joe and Joe does. We basically are a public service, if you ask me. We're bringing these things to light.
Right.
That's what a Christian is supposed to do, right? You bring truth to light. You don't hide the truth. Christ said, what did he say about a candle? You hold the candle so all those can see it. That's not what the media does.
No.
They squash it.
Right. Because they want Planned Parenthood to remain in the dark. They don't want to cover these stories. They won't talk about them. They want to, like I said, they want abortion in America to be no different than a woman ordering a pizza. And I'm not joking. The health and safety standards of a pizzeria are more stringent than they are at an abortion clinic. That is not hyperbole on my part. That's a fact. They had a court case over this in Texas when Texas said your abortion facilities are a disaster. You're in violation of health codes. They had to go to court over this. But if you owned a pizzeria, you wouldn't have been able to go to court. They yanked your health certificate right out of the window. So I'm not joking. Okay? But that's what they want. They want it staying in darkness. Joe and I, and many other good people out there, David Daleiden probably is the biggest example I could give with the Center for Medical Progress, blow the lid off these people and their lies.
Well, here's a good story. Basically, the U.S. is pushing back against pro-abortion language in the UN. There's a UN health resolution that's out there. And let me just put this out here. I mean, the UN is supposed to help people, right? Particularly the poor.
Supposedly.
I mean, the UN pushes abortion like you cannot believe. And who that affects the most? Poor
people.
Developing nations.
Poor black people and brown people
across the world. That is what the UN does. And basically, because the Trump administration is by far the most pro-life administration in the history of America since Roe v. Wade was passed, we're fighting against the UN on these issues. And basically, this is an absolute truth. And this is what basically the U.S. health administrator had to say. He basically said there is no this is the United States health administrator. He said there is no international right to abortion, nor is there any duty on the part of the United States to finance or facilitate abortion. We do not accept references to sexual and reproductive health, and the United States of America believes in legal protections for the unborn.
Now, next time, I'm sorry, Joe.
Donald Trump.
Now, next time, all you pro-life Democrats like Christian Day, who we love you to death, say, I can't vote for Donald Trump, please read that. That is the Donald Trump administration telling the oligarchs in the UN, we do not recognize abortion as a universal right. We recognize the right of the unborn to his or her own life as a universal right. So all you millions of pro-life Democrats, we covered it. Joe and I we're talking to you when I think about it in this particular show at the front line with Joe and Joe, always on air on the Crusade channel, always online at crusadechannel.com. We're talking to you. Donald Trump is going against the Republican establishment to protect American workers, trying to bring manufacturing from overseas so our workers make more money, something that should appeal tremendously to all you Democrats. And he's pro-life, and unashamedly and unapologetically so. Don't even think about voting for Joe Biden. And don't even think about staying home.
And it's a disqualifier, whether you're Catholic or you're not. Abortion is a disqualifier, just like slavery is a disqualifier. You can't say you're for abortion and call yourself a Christian. You cannot. You simply cannot.
You can't say you're for abortion and say to yourself that you're a moral human being. And the reason, and again, that might sound judgmental, but hear me. You either are willfully blind or you're woefully blind. Either way, the fault is with you. This is baby killing. We've had 50 years of legal baby killing in this country. Enough is enough. It's not going to last much longer, but we can hasten its demise, okay? And we need to stop this. America, as a leader in the world, has to abolish abortion. And by the way, somebody said something recently. I don't know what's in the water at the Knights of Columbus. Now, I'm not bad-mouthing the guy, but I'm just going to make a clear statement. Carl Anderson, from my understanding, I think I'm right about this, has said that the pro-life movement needs to adopt an American pro-life language, which basically is another way of saying we have to start saying we're against abortion except in cases of rape, incest, and the life of the mother. Absolutely not. Carl Anderson, you're wrong. You need to retract that statement. Abolitionists, that's what we are. Abortion is an intrinsic evil. It's never acceptable. And let's be clear, and then we'll put a finer point on it. Abortion has never been used to save the life of a mother. The American Medical Association said that, not the Catholic Church. It has never been the case where to save a woman's life, you had to deliberately kill the child. Children die in the process of taking care of a mother. That happens. But the deliberate abortion is never necessary, ever. All right? So let's be clear on that.
Well, I think to end our show, we have about 6 minutes left. I think a good way to go is to talk about, again, Michigan regarding the absentee ballot. Basically, they're trying to force it on the folks of Michigan. And Donald Trump has said you have no legal authorization to do so, and he's going to withhold funds.
Good.
Here's the thing that's interesting about this. Recent data has not shown a compelling public health justification for voting by mail. We brought this up as the show went on. People are going into large box stores, and basically there are lines. I have been in them. I could speak firsthand from Lowe's, Home Depot. And at the end of the day, if you could wait online to get potting soil, you sure as heck could wait online to vote. And Donald Trump is basically saying that you have no legal jurisdiction to do that in Michigan. Why is Michigan do it? Let's be honest. We all know that it is an important state. It is a swing state. There's no mystery.
And they want to cheat.
Bingo.
They want to cheat. And when people say to them, we're not going to let you cheat, they say, you're so racist. You're trying to disenfranchise black people. No, we don't want the Democrats to cheat. Joe and I didn't grow up in the suburbs. We grew up in the heart of a democratic political machine in Newark, New Jersey. We understand firsthand. Okay, we grew up with it. There's voter fraud, and the Democrats perpetrate it. And where do you think they want to perpetrate it? Detroit and the urban areas. Okay, in Michigan. You think they want to protect people's right to vote in the Republican counties in Michigan? No. So that's what they don't like is, again, we're telling them we're not stupid. We're not letting you cheat. It's that simple.
But speaking about this federal power grab, of course, Cory Booker from New Jersey had to weigh in on it. And basically, he's introducing a bill that would create a new federal organization to assist with elections. According to the release of the statements regarding this piece of legislation, it would create something what's called the Democracy Corps, whatever the hell that is. And basically, it's a group of individuals to help people to register to vote, serve as poll workers, and to assist with voter education campaigns. Who are you to educate people on how to vote, Mr. Booker?
And let's be clear. What this is political intimidation.
Of course it is.
That's all it is. You're going to send in your jackboots, particularly to the inner cities and the urban areas, to make sure that people could cheat. That's really what it comes down to. That when people enforce the rules, Democracy Corps, they're going to accuse them of disenfranchising people when they're enforcing rules like seeing an ID when you go to vote. I got to pull out, I'm 52 years old. I got to pull out my ID when I go to the liquor store, but I don't have to pull out my ID when I go to vote. Well, what kind of joke is this?
Let's go to what Booker had to say, because it's pure ridiculous.
By the way, I just got to say this. Cory Booker is a Rhodes Scholar, and when you think about some of the other Rhodes Scholars there have been, Rhodes Scholar isn't all that it's cracked up to be. Go ahead.
This is what he had to say. He said, the right to vote is sacred, and we should make exercising the fundamental right as easy as possible. Unfortunately, the global pandemic has placed that right in peril. And unless decisive measures are taken to provide safe voting options, many Americans may face a terrible choice this fall between protecting their health and participating in our democracy. Well, you're waiting online in Lowe's to get screws to screw in your flower pots to your porch, but you can't wait online to vote?
Right.
I'll go so far as to say I've waited online a half an hour to an hour in Lowe's to get water for my family. When I vote, I've never waited on the line, ever. Where I vote, I'm in and out.
In and out.
I go after work. I usually go there between 7 and 8 o'clock at night. I'm in and out.
All right, Mr. Booker, Senator, let's show a little respect. Senator Booker, okay? See, even in a highly populated place like here, see, we're in Bergen County. There's polling places all over the place.
12 hours a day.
All right, 12 hours, starting early in the morning. They go to the polls close. When you get there, if you have 2 people in front of you, that's a lot. And this is a heavily populated part of the country, okay? So you have no reason. The only reason you want to do this is because you want to cheat, and we're not allowing you
So
to.
what does that say? It basically says that we know better than you. It basically says that we decide who the president is and you don't.
Right.
You see, I'm breaking it down for you, people. That's what it says. It says you are too stupid to decide who the president is. Your voice means nothing, and therefore we are going to decide it for you.
And we're going to send in 30,000 jackboots to make sure you know that we're deciding this for you. See, remember, these are leftists. They got no problem establishing a core of 30,000, good little leftists that go out there to intimidate people in the voting, at voting places. And why? Again, let's end this where we started it, with projection. Who really wants to suppress the vote? They do. I want people to vote. Go ahead. Knock yourself out. If you're in Philadelphia that gets 100% voting for the Democrats, knock yourself out. But there are rules, and you, like us, will follow the rules. You'll have ID. You show up when you have to show up. You can't show up late, and you exercise your right to vote according to the rules. Nobody cheats. We count the ballots, and let's face it, what they're really afraid of in 2016, Cory Booker, you and your party, you lose. And you can't stand that prospect. So what is a good leftist to do? Cheat. Cheat.
Well, that says it all, Joe P.
I think it does. Wow, that was a marathon. But then again, we love doing it because we're on the Crusade channel, always on air and always online at crusadechannel.com, the last live radio station standing. Remember that you could subscribe to the Crusade channel. There's 30-day trial, right? 30-day free subscription, so you could check it out. Mike Church is awesome. He's got the Barrett Brief. He's got Aaron Barker. He's got a whole lot of great content on there. So we highly recommend everybody subscribe to the Crusade channel. If you're following Joe and I, or if you don't mind, please follow Joe and I on Facebook and YouTube. At the Front Line with Joe and Joe. Like, subscribe, share, do all that fun stuff. And until the next time, remember that our conversation is your conversation. And that conversation, it's going on everywhere. We'll see you next time.